I'm Jack Nichols and welcome to World Title.
One of the most popular tracks in the real world and the virtual world, Spa-Francorchamps in the Ardennes Forest in Belgium. We've got FSR's 9th round of the season with corners such as La Source, Eau Rouge, Raidillon, Pouhon and Stavelot being corners that need no introduction whatsoever. Now the track is a shadow of its former self. It's now 7 kilometres instead of just 14 miles. Well, it's not 14 miles, 14 kilometres. Brilliant start. And some of those old names remain despite being shorter than it was in the 60s. It's still one of the most challenging tracks and still retains the title of being the longest on the FSR calendar. It's also a track that poses a setup quandary. Do you make the car super slippy for the first and third flat-out sections, or do you save some downforce to maximise time through the middle sector? And thanks to that flat-out run from La Source to Les Combes and Stavelot to the chicane, we are certain to see a lot of slipstreaming action and plenty of overtaking, although maybe not to the same extent we saw last time out at Le Mans. Noah Roivers still maintains his lead over Tom Oldenmenger at the top of the standings and is arriving here in Belgium fresh off the back of winning the Pro category's inaugural Triple Crown Mini Championship. And while behind the two flying Dutchman, Jan Vosnitzer still holds a realistic chance of taking the Pro title this season. But with Roivers' consistency being so good this season, it's a realistic but at the same time tough prospect. But anything can happen in FSR, and to take you through this afternoon's proceedings, it's myself, Aidan Maud, and instead of Alex Skinner, who couldn't be here today, it's Felix van Delft. Felix, hello.
Hey Aidan, I'm looking forward to this one. We've had a good academy race just earlier today, and Pro always manages to give us some good action as well. So looking forward. I think qualifying is already underway, so I think it's good to quickly go over to the racetrack and see how the drivers are doing in qualifying already.
Yeah, it's a track that the drivers seem to love, and it's one that you can enjoy watching as well as driving. 35 lap race here today, 3 hot laps as usual, so it's out lap, hot lap, in lap. You can't daisy chain your hot laps together. It has to be in, out, in, out, in, out, in, so you effectively get 3 flyers. Viktor Ivanov is currently doing the fastest first sector as we look at championship leader, champion-elect Noah Roivers. He's done a 29-1 as they come through, or as he comes through Les Combes and the downhill run towards Rivage. Try and hook it into the inside and get on the power nice and early downhill towards No Name, Sans Norm, Speaker's Corner, Jack Eek's Corner, whatever you want to call it. And then it's the absolutely phenomenal Pouhon, drop a gear, lob it in, use all the grip on tap in these FSR cars for 2021. And then up towards Fagnes. There's a white line just across the track on the entry. That's where you brake, just chuck it in. You see the corrections there as the car wants to break free. And then into Stavelot, just a little kiss of the curb, because otherwise you're just going to unsettle the car, and then back out the other side. That pull for air, and then uphill towards the famous Blanchimont corner as we go back to the outside view. Roivers has done the fastest middle sector. Viktor Ivanov has drawn first blood, getting there with a 142 dead. But Roivers is the man to watch, as he's the only one on this sort of lap that's going to be near the top that hasn't set a time yet. Comes through the final chicane. Guns it towards the line and across the line to go. Well, he's in third right now, so that's a nice banker there from the Dutchman. Leonov and Vosnitzer also there at the top. Those top 3 separated by less than a tenth, so all to play for in the final 6 minutes of qualifying. But it's such a long lap. You got to be very careful on your out lap to not go too slowly as to waste time, but at the same time not too fast that you burn away precious tyre life.
Yeah, indeed. That's indeed a challenge for these drivers. The time is a bit short on a track like this to get in 3 hot laps. You have to be quick and still try to not ruin your tires before you even started the lap. But so far, Netrex looking strong. Once again, top 4 lockout so far. Very, very close between each other. Leonov just 0.005 of a second quicker than Wozniak at the moment, who in turn is only about 900 faster than Noah Roivers at the moment. Viktor Ivanov also about 700ths of a second behind that. So extremely close between the Netrex guys at the front. And behind that, Torres, Kaloktsai, Frelick, Barbikov, all very close. The entire top 14 within a second at the moment.
Yeah, but Tom Holdermenger and Casper Rietveld down there in 9th and 10th, Cameron Roger in 14th. It's Burst not having... I mean, you expect Tom Holdermenger to be a bit higher than that. Maybe he's just done a banker and is then looking to put in 2 blistering laps towards the end. But still, you've got like teams grouped together, and then you've got Alvaro Torres there in between the 3 Netrex drivers and the 3 Royal Blue drivers. So he's not going to be having a lot of fun if he starts 5th with the rest of the grid like it is. Vosnitzer lobbing it into La Source. They miss the apex entirely. A little bit of slide on the exit. That can really compromise you going down the hill. And this is the famous Eau Rouge Radion section. All that compression, flat out. No DRS on these cars, so they're not going to be opening that down the long Kemmel straight. But this is where we're going to see a lot of overtaking into the braking point for Les Combes, which is just up here at the end of the straight. So over 200 miles an hour under braking. Cut the corner nicely on the left and the right, or the right and the left. And then a bit of a wobble. Use all the runoff you can there, but try not to get a cut track penalty. And this is a track where you can pick them up. La Source, that last corner has just come through. No name here. You can get one. Pouon, quite famous in the sim racing world for picking up cut tracks, and the exit of Stavolo 1 and 2 as well. So white lines are white lines here.
Yeah, they definitely are. Ivan Leonov, purple first sector. Vosnik had a bit of a tough first sector. Let's see if he can crawl back in the second one. Timing marker will be just about here. And it is a personal improvement for him. So if you can keep this going, might be able to at least grab provisional pole position for a bit, but then we're gonna have to wait and see what Leonov can do when he crosses the line. He's a bit further down the track compared to Vosnika. Last quarter, a bit of a bounce there and sideways. It's not gonna help his time, I think. Across the line he comes, and it is going to be a provisional pole time of 41.8. So good improvement indeed. But what can Leonov do?
Yeah, probably would have been a bit quicker had he not had all that slidey action on the exit of the bus stop. But Ivan Leonov has actually got the fastest first sector of all. Roivers has just dumped it onto second as Ivan.
He doesn't have a second sector time there, and he was already in the third. So I think he got the track.
Yeah, that's the best explanation for that. Alvaro Torres of Brem GP. I think he might just get away with that one.
Yeah, I think he also is on an outlap at the moment. Nobody except for Arif Roslan currently on a flying lap. Arif Roslan, his first flying lap wasn't the best. Looking to improve on the second one. He needs about 8 tenths to move up to Thomas Wack in 16th position in front of him. He comes into the final corner. See what he's able to do. Bounces over the curbs. Quite a difficult place on the track. And across the line, he will go up to the same position. Does improve his time, but still has about 3 tenths to go until the next driver. Everybody now out on their outlaps for their final attempt here of the qualifying session. 1.5 minutes to go. Once the timer hits 0, your time is set. And you're allowed to, of course, finish your lap. But if you haven't started your lap yet, tough luck, your qualifying session is over, but the gap between Vosnika and Noah Rovers is 200ths of a second. I'm sure Rovers will be trying to make that at least go positive into his favor.
Yeah, all the cars on their outlap should get across the line in time. Rovers heading up towards Fania just now, so he'll be well within the cut-off time. There's only two drivers currently on hot laps, so they'll obviously be fine. There's a driver just coming up to the start-finish line to start now, so he'll be fine. So yeah, Roivers should get there. I think he'll cross with maybe it'll be less than 10 seconds probably, but my maths isn't very good, as you probably already know by now. As he comes up to the chicane, It's quite tricky, the chicane, because you use the curb on the inside just there. That can upset the rear end, so... Yep. But less than 10 seconds, I did call it just. So Roivers will get to start his final lap now.
Yeah, just on the limit, and I think Woznica behind him was even closer to not making it. But they all made it. They all started their final laps. Rovers up to Rouge and Radion. Now the long Camel Straight, getting up to a top speed of about 227 kilometers an hour, braking hard into Lecombe, using that inside curve. On the left side there, not too much, because that curve can unsettle the car a bit too much. On the outside here, you use the curve as well. Then braking for Rivage. This is one of those corners where you're basically understeers with every single car that you can imagine. No name corner, same story really. On the exit you have to be careful. First sector is not an improvement for Rovers. Quite a bit down actually to his personal best, I believe. Woznica has improved his personal best. This is the inside apex a little bit there. Not too bad if you still get a good run through the second
that
one.
might be a cut there.
That's on the limit probably. Stavelo. That's within the lines.
Well, he's fastest.
Yeah, it was a very fast second sector. Woznica though is even faster there by about 300ths of a second. So I think it's going to be all down to this final sector between Rovers and Woznica. Final corner, braking hard into the corner. Making sure the car doesn't bounce too much. Looks solid for Rovers. Maybe a bit too slow. Exit is good. Shortest line.
Improved.
Shortest run to the line. And it is an improvement up to provisional pole position, but Woznica goes even faster.
Wow, those 4 Netrex drivers really wanted that pole position, didn't they? But they've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 as everybody has now finished their laps. The top 17 separated by just under 2 seconds. So here is your standings. The top 10, Jan Vosnitzer for Netrex Grand Prix with that at the death. Pole position, lap time of 1:41.5, then followed by Noah Rovers just over a tenth behind. Victor Ivanov will start row 2 with a time just 0.2 of a second off Vosnitzer there on pole. Ivan Leonov in 4th. And David Kalaksoi for Royal Blue, Stoyan Barbakov also for Royal Blue. That's 5th and 6th. Alvaro Torres for Brem GP, and then Cas Rietveld in 8th. That's a brilliant qualifying session for him. Simon Frelick in 9th for Royal Blue, and Tom Oldenmenger, one of the championship protagonists, down there in 10th. So he's going to have to do some overtaking to get his points haul as good as it can be. Yuka Bekalalu there in 11th. Harry Smith for Brem GP in 12th. George Chatspantelis for Brem, he's in 13th. Cameron Roger for Burst, he's 14th. Matt Tucson in 15th. Thomas Vac in 16th for HM Engineering, and Arif Roslan in for the Invictus team right there at the back. 17 runners. It's down on what we're used to getting, but we're still going to have a decent race here today, hopefully.
Yeah, we definitely will, I think, and great to see, of course, 17 drivers on the grid. 2 seconds between each other, but most notably about 1 second only, or 9/10 only, between the top 13. Let's hope that translates through a good race in the end as well. Yeah, just hoping that we'll get a good race. Let's have a quick look at the season standings as well. Of course, those have been majorly dominated by Noah Rovers, haven't they, Aiden?
Yeah, he's been so consistent this season. I was looking at the results just prior to the start of the race weekend. He's only finished off the podium once all season, and that was the chaotic British Grand Prix at Silverstone, where we had to do the race on a 2-lap countback because the server went full meltdown. But but still, compared to Oldenmenger, I mean, Roivers was first, 15th, first, second, and Oldenmenger has had that 13th place at the San Marino Grand Prix, which has sort of put a dent in his championship charge. But still, 42 points between the two of them going into this round, so it's all to play for. But I think Roivers' consistency might just give him the upper hand for the rest of the season, with just 3 races remaining at Japan, Malaysia and Brazil after this final European race of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be a thrilling ending of the season as well, I think. Japan, Malaysia, Brazil, 3 of those tracks that are good for racing normally, and I think with these cars, with the new slipstream that we've added a few races back, it's going to be interesting. Even already here at Spa, we've seen in the Academy Championship, the slipstream is very, very effective down the Camel Straight. I think if you're closer than about half a second, you should be able to make a move into Le Combe. Because especially in the first lap, that's going to be interesting. Let's hope nobody makes it 6 wide coming into Le Combe, but we'll have to wait and see what the drivers do. Be switching to the race session fairly soon, and then we're going to go racing for 35 laps here around this beautiful and iconic Spa-Francorchamps circuit.
35 laps around Spa. It doesn't really get any better than this, really. Because I mean, the version we've got in rFactor 2 is phenomenal. They're one of the more recent releases from Studio 397 that brings one of the most popular racetracks in the world to rFactor 2. And for the drivers, I'm sure they're going to enjoy every single lap of this place, as the very loud announcer just gone through my ear saying, "Can everybody just get on the grid now, please?" And with about 20 seconds remaining until the formation lap. So, Vositz are on pole position, but with that run from La Source all the way down to Les Combe, he is going to be a sitting duck if Roivers and Ivanov, and Leonov for that matter, manage to get into his slipstream.
Yeah. We saw in Academy that Scarron was able to maintain his lead coming into Le Combe, but he had to really defend hard and fight for it. So it's going to be tough for Woznica coming into that first braking zone for Le Combe. Let's see if any of his teammates, of course they are all teammates, so I'm guessing they will be a bit more careful with each other than they would be with other drivers that are not their teammates, but who knows? It's always just a case of we have to wait and see what is going to happen. But let's have a look at the starting order.
Yeah, while you're doing that transition, Felix, it looks like Oldermenger's starting from the pit lane. So Vositzer, Roivers, Ivanov, Leonov. It's always confusing when Ivanov and Leonov end up in close proximity to each other. I think they're doing that deliberately now, but that's your top 4. Then David Kalakshai, Stoyan Barbakov, Alvaro Torres, Cas Rietveld is the next 4 on the grid. And moving on, I think it's Simon Freilich, then Tom Oldermenger, who is in his garage, so he's going to be starting from the pit lane. So either he took too long to get onto the grid, or this is a deliberate ploy from the Burst Simplexity driver. George Chanspentalis in 13th place, Cameron Roger 14th, Matt Tucson in 15th, and Thomas Schwach in 16th there for HM Engineering. And then bringing up the rear of the field, it's Arif Roslan for Invictus, with the field just coming through No Name right now on the run down the hill towards Pouhon. Just trying not to take too much out of the tyres on this opening lap, because through Pouhon, through Eau Rouge, through Stavelo as well, you can see that's a beautiful shot right there. That right front will take a hammering through there, so the less you can take out of the tyre while still keeping a modicum of heat into it, you can save the tyres for a bit of performance later on in your stint. But you're going to be refueling, you're going to be changing the tyres anyway. So with the fuel burn and having to top up with fuel, the tyre wear, well, you can lean on them a bit harder, knowing that you've got to get rid of them at the point your tank runs out. So I mean, what's the stint that we're expecting here, Felix?
In Academy, we saw, I think, furthest that anybody went was about 12-13 laps. So I think 12 laps. I think more than 12 is not really going to be possible fuel-wise, because, well, it's really difficult to save a lap at a track like Spa, of course. So I'm guessing 12 laps on the tank. But of course, strategy-wise, who knows? At the front, top 7 is all starting on the soft tire. Then Rietveld, Frelick, Oldermenger, of course, from the pits, and Lalu all on the hard tires. Then it's a bit mixed with the softs and the hards behind that. But yeah, let's see how this turns out in the end.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Tom Oldermenger has written in the in-game chat, my toilet break was 1 second too long, so that is why he's starting from the pit lane. You can see him just on the right-hand side of your screen, making his way up to the pit lane speed limiter line as the field is on the grid. I think Ivan Leonov is in a weird position. He's almost got the car right in the middle of the track. You can see him there in 4th position. So we're just waiting for the lights to come on here at Spa. Here we go. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The brief pause. And we're away in Belgium. The field looks like it's got away pretty well. Oldermenger's still there in the pit lane. The field trying to get to the outside of the track, maybe the inside of the track to stick a nose or inside. As Ivanov has now got himself into second. Roy's got the position back. It's now down the hill. Looks like everybody's through nice and cleanly into La Source. Oldermenger should be allowed to leave the pit lane now as they go through Eau Rouge and up the hill at Radion. But, oh, someone's just bought the farm already. That was a huge smash in the background. I'm sure I just saw a car go flying off the track as they're now starting to go 3 wide up the Kemmel Straight into Lake Com. Everybody is through nice and safely. And, yeah, everything is just fine. Oldermenger bringing up the field as he goes into Lake Com right at the back of the field. But Cas Rietveld, I think, has actually picked up a cut track already. I definitely saw someone go flying off in the background, unless that was just lag on my end or someone that did go off. But it looks like everybody's survived lap 1, so all good.
Yeah, I believe it was Ivan Leonov. He's down into 8th place. He went off, but he didn't hit any barriers. I think he used that runoff area there on the top of Radion to his effect and rejoined the track safely. Everybody's still going, nobody out. Tom Oldermenger dropped back to 17th, so he must have had some sort of incident as well. 5 seconds back of Rossen. Oh wait, of course, started from the pit lane, so we had to wait. He's starting to catch up to everybody. But yeah, Wozniacka managed to retain his lead in the first lap. Ivanov, Noah Rovers close to each other. They will be making the most of the slipstream in these next few laps. Let's see what Rovers will be able to do. Kaloksai, of course, behind them. Not a Netrex driver. Will be trying to take advantage of that slipstream the most.
Cameron Rogers managed to get himself up into 10th, so a brilliant first lap for the FSR president, as I've just seen Cas Rietveld and Alvaro Torres almost bonk wheels going to the source, but Ivan Leonov is pressuring these two. As, he had a bit of a sniff into Eau Rouge, but you've got to be really brave, really crazy, or both to want to attempt something there. So Leonov safely through, but look at that slipstream. He's had to tap the brakes ever so slightly on Kemmel. He's not going to try something into Lake Com here, is he? As everybody's just trying to find any gap they possibly can to try and gain a position. The slipstream up, and there goes Harry Smith into the wall. As I mean, it's showing as a Brem GP car, but as a Netrex car on the broadcast. That's a bit weird. But Cameron Roger side by side with George Chaspantalis going through Rivage and through Speaker's Corner and up towards Radion. So Cam's getting a massive stomp on here.
Yeah, very busy second lap there as well coming into Lacombe. Harry Smith is the victim of that. Just got a bit of a tap there in the middle of the corner, unsettled the car into the wall. He went for the second time today. I think it was pretty much the same place where he hit the wall earlier in the Academy Series today, so he won't be happy. All the way down to 17th position now, and we'll have to do that long lap back to the pits once again. As Viktor Ivanov is closing in as well to Wozniacka once again. Wozniacka under pressure, but Ivanov, I think, is playing it safe for now. Just sitting behind Wozniacka. Maybe saving a bit of fuel, saving some tires. And then later in the race, go for the attack. Gets a good exit out of La Source. Gap is about 5/10. That should be enough with the slipstream, I think. At least from what I've seen in the Academy Series earlier today. That was enough. He's gaining. He's gaining. Is he going to go for the inside? Yes, he is.
Let's get that slingshot all the way up to Lake Com. You can see the rest of the cars just coming into shot there. Vosnitzer now in second. So Roivers is about 7/10 behind these two right now. And then Rietveld there in 8th, being pressured by Chaspantalis. As Chaspantalis had a little bit of a sniff, but going into Rivage like that, it's going to be carnage if you just try and send it. Really, your best chances are going to be the chicane and Lake Com, unless the car ahead gets a bad exit of La Source or something like that. So it's a track where racing can happen in modern open wheelers. racing happens in virtually anything around here. It's a car that's sort of been able to cope with the evolution of racing cars, and these FSR cars for 2021 have already provided us with some great racing.
They definitely have. See if Chatsipantelis can use that slipstream to make a move into the bus stop. He's closing in rapidly once again. Goes to the outside. It's going to be tough in the bus stop side by side. Manages to get in front of him on the braking. Gets the car through the corner just about. Rietveld tries to go around the outside then as well. And Cameron Roger behind that is also eagerly awaiting what's going to happen between these two. Both of them will have the slipstream now. Cameron, I think, is also close enough to use that slipstream down the Camel Straight. Chatsipantelis will be looking in his rear view mirrors, and he's going to see Rietveld getting closer and closer quite rapidly.
Yeah, both these Burst eSports cars will have the slipstream, whereas Chatsipantelis won't, and there goes. So Rietveld is going to be ahead going into the next corner. Chatsipantelis just ducks back into the slipstream for a little bit of a boost, but there's nothing really there before they get to Lake Carl, and now Cameron Roger sitting in behind as they go sort of over the crest and then back down the hill to Rivage. But Chatsipantelis down to 9th. But Cameron Roger looking super, super racy at this track. But then again, I think a lot of the drivers have been doing a lot of laps on this track recently with the new competition system in rFactor 2 and the upcoming Formula Challenge and Formula Pro seasons. So I think the teams have got a lot of data for this track over the last couple of weeks.
Definitely. Woznica. He's about 7/10 still behind Ivanov right now. Ivanov managed to gain a bit of time, but it's going to be difficult here. Of course, he has to get a good exit out of the bus stop and most importantly out of La Source, the first corner. I think the gap needs to be about half a second or 6/10. You want to stay in front easily down the Camel Straight. Yeah, right now is about 6/10, so it might be close, but I think Ivanov just has about enough of a gap to keep Woznica behind him. Woznica in his turn has about a second to Rovers, and all the way down to Barbakov it's about the same. Leonov though, he is close to Torres.
Yeah, we think about like sort of 5/10, 4/10 is where the slipstream really takes over, and now we see Leonov and Torres battling it out down Kemmel. Almost gave him a bit too much room there. As Torres still fighting into Lecom. Might have been a tiny bit of contact there, but now Leonov has managed to force his way through. Tom Oldermenger hasn't really made much of an inroads into things. He's up to 15th. I mean, he did start from the pit lane and had a bit of a gap there, but still it's not really clearing Matt Tewson, Thomas Vax, Simon Freilich as fast as he would have wanted.
Yeah, Rietveld and Roger both got past Chatsipantelis there, I think. Both of the Burst eSports drivers trying to move their way up the field. Next target is 3 seconds up the road is Alvaro Torres. However, they still have to get rid of Chatsipantelis. Behind them is a bit of a train with Lalu, Freilich all joining in. And the slipstream doing wonders for all of them. Now, let's see if slipstream for Roger, who's about 7/10 back of Rietveld, is strong enough to keep Chatsipantelis behind, because he's about 4/10 behind. You can see him closing in up to the bus stop. Might be a possibility for a dive. No, Chatsipantelis backs out of it, but the gap is very close. If Rietveld wants to do Cameron a favor, he lifts off just a little bit to give him enough slipstream here, but I'm not sure if he's doing that.
Yeah, I don't think the slipstream from Stavolo up to the bus stop is as powerful because of having Blanchimont in the middle. You sort of slow down through, going through the corner a tiny bit, but you're probably going to see it now. Chatsipantelis on Cameron Roger going up towards Lake Com. I think the gap might just be big enough, but Cameron might get one on his own teammate around the outside, maybe into Lake Com. El Presidente on the softer tyre, and that's another position there for Cameron. So he's up to 8th, so doing very, very well. But Chatsipantelis couldn't get another overtaking opportunity done on Rietveld. So Rietveld only losing one position there, but Chatsipantelis is wanting to get those positions back.
should be noted as well, by the way, that Rietveld is on the harder compound tire compared to all these drivers that have been passing him that are on the soft tire. So relatively, I think Rietveld is still in a good position on those hard tires. Of course, will have the comfort that he can go onto the soft tires for the rest of the race. All these other drivers in front of him still have to use those hard tires at another point in the race, and that's of course where he would want to take advantage of that. Front of the field currently, Bosnica, Ivanov all about a second away from each other, so not much happening there. Pantelis once again closing in. Cameron going defensive into the bus stop.
Jasmentalis almost rear-ending Cas Rietveld there, so looking very, very racy. All the cars getting decent exit from the bus stop, which must be pretty tricky in these cars given how much torque and power they've got. I tried driving this thing and I kept spinning it out at every opportunity. I just couldn't get the throttle right at all, so very, very tricky to drive cars. Very, very difficult to drive quickly. That's a beautiful shot, watching these cars go streaming through Eau Rouge and up the other side at Radion, and now maybe Cas Rietveld will get the position back from Cameron Roger, doing exactly the same move that Roger did on him. And there we go, as Jasmentalis getting close on the brakes again, but we're just trying to put Cameron Roger under pressure. If you see a driver going deep on the brakes into corners, you think, oh, he's going to hit me. You instinctively dive out of the way, and that presents the opportunity, but still Cam's doing a good job at holding the position there, so we could expect these two to swap positions over the next couple of laps, but you know, those hard tyres are going to hold on a little bit more than the softs, so it's going to be a case of whose tyres wear out worse, as Jasmentalis sort of doesn't have the best of Pouons there, gathering it up for Fania, but this is bringing Jukka-Pekka Laulu into play, who is on the harder tyre. So Jukka-Pekka Laulu could be having a look at Jasmentalis within probably the next lap and a half or so. It doesn't look like Jukka-Pekka Laulu is close enough at this point in time, so we're probably going to expect something maybe going into Les Comps, as Jasmentalis tries to close up once more on the brakes. Jukka-Pekka Laulu does the same, although the concertina effect might be exaggerating that a tiny, tiny bit. But this is also bringing Frelick and Vach into play. The train closing up ever so slightly. So now what will happen on this massive run from the source all the way down the hill as we ride on board with Jasmentalis here. There's the left and the right.
Rietveld has ditched Cameron a little bit there, over a second of a gap now, so Cameron won't have the slipstream from his teammate in front, and Pantelis goes streaming past. Not much Roger can do there.
Now he might killed his tyres.
Yeah, it's gonna be difficult for him if he. Of course, it was good for those two burst guys to be together. They could use their slipstream, help each other. But now Cameron Roger has fallen into the clutches of everybody behind them, and I think it's gonna be tough for him to try and keep with him now.
Yeah, Cameron will probably drop back a tiny bit, but still points for the top 15 in Pro. Whereas the World Championship, which has been delayed because apparently some people are kicking a football around tonight, that'll be delayed until next week, so only top 10 there will score points. But still, we've got this race for you where the top 15 will score points. So Cameron Roger still on course for a points haul today. He's got more than enough of a gap to Arif Roslan down there in the last points paying place, as Matt Tucson and Harry Smith, after that front wing change, is bringing up the rear. But still, your top 10 is Ivanov, Voznica, Roivers, Kalaksai, Barbakov, Leonov, Torres, Rietveld, Jasmentalis and Cameron Roger, who you're looking at now. But although that 10th place is now under threat from Jukka-Pekka Laulu, who has now closed right up, and we've seen how powerful the slipstream is down the old Kemmel Straight, so be interesting to see what else happens here.
Yeah, here we go again. Cameron Roger. He's close enough, I think, to use that slipstream on George Chatzipantelis. He's a little bit further back than Chatzipantelis was last lap, but I think it's still close enough to do something at the end of the straight. Chatzipantelis trying to break that slipstream. Is it going to be enough? Cameron closing. I think he's just a little bit too far back, unless he throws it up the inside here. Decides Has to wait a little bit further. Of course, also all these drivers behind still battling as well. Felix and Oldermenger going at it. I think Oldermenger just got past Felix there. Felix on the hard tires. Same goes for Oldermenger. Thomas Wak in front of that on the softs. Trying to get past Lalu, but unsuccessful at this point in the race.
I'm just trying to see what the points would be as it stands. There's Oldermenger down there in the lower points positions. He might just keep his lead over Vosnitzer, but it'll be slim. So Oldermenger in danger of losing his second place. If Vosnitzer wins the race, Vosnitzer will be back into second position. I mean, Vosnitzer had a sixth, a fourth, a third, a second, a first at Silverstone, and then didn't finish at either Indianapolis or Azure, and then won at Le Mans. So those two DNFs not really done him any favours, but still, to catch up to Oldermenger in a big way like he can today would be a brilliant, well, brilliant not just for Vosnitzer, but also brilliant for Netrex.
Yeah, definitely will be. Gap between Roger and Satsipantelis is grown a bit larger now, about 7 tenths between them. That's going to be too far back for Cameron to do anything, I think. Behind him, Lalu starting to close in a little bit more. 10 laps on these tires now. That means the hard tires might be getting a bit more into their comfort zone compared to the soft. So Lalu starting to reel in Cameron a little bit. Cameron still has more slipstream from Satsipantelis than Lalu has from Cameron, but I don't think it's enough for Cameron to stay with Satsipantelis for many more laps. However, I think pit stop cycle is going to be starting in either this lap or the next one, and then we're gonna have to see who goes onto which tire.
Oldermenger almost got overtaken by Simon Freilich into Les Combes, so Oldermenger on those hard tyres not having fun. His mistimed toilet break has put him in that position, but still in the points, which is going to be useful. So it's going to be about damage limitation for the Burst Esports driver, as we see Simon Freilich following that burst car through Stavelot and up the hill towards Blanchemont and the chicane. Oldermenger seems to have dropped Freilich a tiny bit. Here's your leader, Viktor Ivanov, who has got about 8 tenths of a second to Vosnitzer in second, and Royver's there 1.6 behind. But we've seen the sort of strategy that Netrex can pull off in FSR, as Oldermenger has brought his car into the pit lane.
Yep, first to pit is Tom Oldermenger, and
soft tyres.
You will be going on to. I think Roger and Satsipantelis are going at it once again. Coming up the hill. Satsipantelis trying to break that slipstream. Roger's
going to get him here.
Yeah.
I think Chatsmantas knew that was coming, because didn't even bother to go to the right-hand side of the track and cover off the inside line until they come. So Cam's got an easy move done there, but 2.5 seconds to catch Rietveld ahead. So Cam's going to have to get another stomp on to catch up to Rietveld and try and use Rietveld's slipstream to pull him along through the faster sections of this track, which, Sector 1, Sector 3, flat out. As Roger goes a bit wide, that should be okay for track cuts, so he won't get a penalty just yet.
Indeed, Thomas Wak sitting behind these drivers. He's been sitting behind these drivers for, I think, most of the race so far. Not really attacking anybody, but perhaps just awaiting his chance. There's still quite a long way to go, of course, about 25 laps. First pit stops are just about coming now, and I think we have got the leaders into the lane. Yeah. Ivanov and Noah Rovers both into the pit lane. Wozniacka stays out for now. Ivanov goes on to, it seems like, another set of the soft tires. Same goes for Noah Rovers, and David Koloksai behind that is also coming in, and he's going on to the hard compound tires.
Lalu Freilich also in. I was just looking at track cuts through some of the top drivers. Vosnitzer's actually got 2 at the minute, so he's going to have to start being careful. I think he's Kalaxai's only got the one, Cameron's got none, rFactor's got none, Barbakov's got none, Leonov's got none, so Vozitzer maybe pushing unnecessarily hard at the minute, but he's probably going to have to start thinking about making a pit stop very soon. So we're on lap 11, so it will probably be at the end of this lap as Arif Roslan now joins the pit lane fray.
Yeah, quite busy rejoin there for Viktor Ivanov and Noah Rovers. All very close to this battle that we were watching with Rietveld, Roger, Shatsipantelis and Thomas Wak. Ivanov just got out in front of Wak, but behind Shatsipantelis. These guys will surely be pitting on this lap, I think, or the next one. Ivanov will be losing a bit of ground then, I think, because he can't really push these tires to the limit with all of these drivers in front of him. Of course, he will get some slipstream, but I don't think that outweighs the time lost in the second sector here.
Yeah, Royver's got the better deal here. He came out with about 2 seconds to Tomasz Wach and then another 5.5 to Kalaxai in behind, so Royver's got the better end of the deal here. Ivanov running a tiny bit wide coming out of Paul Ferrer, coming up now towards Blanchimont and the chicane. He's going to get pretty close, but it's still going to depend on whether or not Chatspartalis lobs it into the pit lane here, because it's a dodgy entrance to the pit lane here, as there they go. So Ivanov, I think he got away with that one in terms of not being too close to the cars coming into the pit lane, but there is your race leader, Jan Vozitzer, in the pit lane. Oh, sorry, there's Vozitzer leaving, I should say, as the broadcaster overlay just really confused me there. So Vozitzer comes out behind his teammate now. Roivers just under a second behind. So Ivanov, Vozitzer, Roivers, top 3. Kalaxai there on the hards. He's the only member of the top 4 on the hards. Let's just see where everybody else is. Torres there, also on hards. Roger in the pit lane. And others as well. So Roger again on the softs. There he is, right in front of Jukka Lalu. So this is going to be interesting as we go on board with the Finn. We can actually get a decent indication how fast these cars are going up here. As Roger, oof, could have got a magazine in between that gap. As it just isn't the straight line speed. Is it going to try and swing around the outside? No. Cameron survives on this occasion, I suppose. Slightly fresher tyres. Tiny bit of extra braking and cornering grip, so Cameron's managed to just get a tiny bit of a lead, a little bit of a lock up into Rivage. It's probably undone what he managed to gain from Lalo having to take the long way round. But everything seems to be okay as of yet. So only 2 cars on the hard tyre after the first round of stops. That's Kalaxai and Torres. Everybody else on soft. So those who haven't yet taken hards will have to on their second stop, which will be around sort of lap 24, and then go the final 10-11 laps towards the end. So they'll be on a short fill if they haven't already had their short fill. And we know that Tom Aldermenger was one of the first to pit, so he would have definitely been on a short fill. So we'll have the full tank going from his second stop to the end, as we now see Jukka Lalu and Cameron Roger fighting again. As Jukka Lalu, if he gets a decent exit from the source, should be able to get Roger into Lakon, but if Cam's just got that little bit of a gap, I mean 0.7 of a second as they go through Eau Rouge, it's now down to 0.59 now. So Lalu might just have enough. I mean, it looks like a massive gap, but you've got to take into account how fast they're going. So with the slipstream up here, it will almost be like he's open DRS because the slipstream is that powerful down Camel Straight, but it looks like he's too far back at this point in time. Yeah, he's not going to make that. But still trying to keep Cameron under pressure, but still Cameron doing very, very well in 10th position here. Rietveld, Oldermenger, Roger all running together for the Burst eSports team. Although Oldermenger would like to be a little bit higher up, and Oldermenger's sort of around where he qualified now, but he's still got a pit, and he'll be one of the first to pit again in a few laps' time when the second cycle of pit stops comes round. So Oldermenger will drop like a stone again. He might be able to bring it back and sort of finish around where he theoretically would have started, but still not good for Burst at this time.
At the front, Ivanov, Woznica, Rovers, all unchanged. Loxai, of course, behind that on the hard tires. He'll be dropping back a little bit further, I think, into the clutches of Barbikov. But of course, later in the race, all those drivers still have to take those hard tires. So, in turn, Loxai will gain a bit more time then. Have to wait in the end to see how that turns out for Koloksai. Lalu, I think, is a bit too far back once again to do much. Unless Cameron has a really bad exit out of La Source. Doesn't look like it. So Lalu's gonna have to try and work a bit harder down the second sector to try and gain some time. Ivan Leonov's gotten past Stoyan Barbikov there down the Camel Straight.
Harry Smith in the pit lane again, but he's well off cycle at the minute because of his pit stop for a fresh front wing. He's still in the race though, so it's going a bit better than his academy race earlier today, where that didn't go too well for him. And we had no DNFs as well. I think the academy race had 7 at the end. 5 of them happened in very quick succession. But to have everybody still running at this track is pretty good going. I'm sure it's better for the drivers to finish last by a long distance than not finish at all, especially with all the preparation you do for these kinds of things, with strategy and setups and trying to extract all the pace you can from a car, especially when the car is the same across the board. Leonov down there in 5th, Kaloksai 4th, Roivas 3rd, Vozitsa, Ivanov your top 3, so Netrek still very much in control of this race. They've got between Roivas and Kaloksai it's about 7.5 seconds. As we look at Barbikov chasing down Leonov here. And the gap there, just over a second. And here we go. Chatspantalis and Freilich into the bus stop. We've seen how good Chatspantalis can catch up on the brakes. But he didn't get the best of exits of the chicane, so he should, if he gets a decent exit from the source, he should be able to catch and pass Freilich into Lakon, but not doing that, you're not, so that moves off now.
I'm not sure if it's off. He's still relatively close, about half a second. I think it might just be enough. Let's see though. Closing in, and I think in front Lalu is also fighting with Roger. Let's wait for this one though. Yeah, he's gonna try it around the outside. That's gonna be tough side by side. Gonna be the inside for this next corner. Ooh, it's that inside curb. Manages to keep the car pointed in the right direction, but it was very close to Cameron Rogers side by side with Lalu in front of this coming into Rivage.
That's brave around the outside of that particular corner. That's a move that you only really see in GT, where they've got like traction control and ABS to keep everything under control going into that corner. But Roger looking very racy today. He could be on for his best result of the season, as it so happens. I mean, let's have a look at the old printout that I did before the race. Where is he?
You have to look fairly far down.
F. Cameron Roger, Scotland. Yeah, right. I know his best result of the season is 10th. That was at Portugal, so he could be on course to match it, or just finish ever so slightly off. But he's only failed to finish at 2 races this season, so he's having an okay season. So yeah, I can't fault him for that.
Yeah. He's going to have to defend from Thomas Waag now, though. Simon Freilich right behind it, also trying to get close. Waag had a bit of a wiggle on the exit there of La Source. I think Roger is too far back from Lalo to get his slipstream. Waag, yeah, you already can see him. He's closing in with such a rapid pace. He'll go to the inside. Not much Roger can do there. He's trying to squeeze him a little bit more. But unless he really sends it down the round side, he's got to try it.
Where's he learned to do this?
Good question.
Is he even driving?
Well, maybe.
Has he got Daniel Abt driving his car?
And now Freilich is also trying to get around the outside of Waag. Now it's going to be the inside on No Name. Gets the position. Waag losing 2 positions. Well, not really losing, but not gaining anything from that.
He's going to go around the outside of Pouon now. Watch this.
He's going to try it, but I don't think that's really going to work. So Waag now behind Freilich, and Roger got a little bit of a breathing room there because of this battle between Bach and Felix. For how long that's going to be, though, I don't know, because Felix looks to be on pace as well. He just has to catch up to Cameron now in these next few corners.
Yeah, Cam's got a second gap now, so that's enough of a buffer for slipstream purposes. Chatsmentalis is about 1.2 seconds behind these three, so it's all kicking off for sort of around 10th position. But I think that battling has dropped Roger back off Jukka-Pekka Lalu. 1.2 seconds the gap there. Actually, the closest gap we've got on track right now is Torres and Oldenmenger as they go into La Source. So Oldenmenger should have an easy peasy lemon squeezy overtake into Lake Com.
Yeah, you would expect so at least. You should see him closing in before Rouge. Now, this is going to be easy.
See you later.
Yeah, around the outside. Is Torres going to be able to stick with him? No, yes he is. Oldenmenger maybe went a little bit too soon down that straight, but manages to outbrake him coming into Lacombe. Takes the position from Torres there.
Yeah, this is the problem with going through Eau Rouge so close to somebody else in the slipstream, is that you have to back off, and then you've got to and you lose all that speed and all that momentum. So some drivers you'll find will lift out before Eau Rouge and then just floor it through the other side, and then have that momentum and that slipstream to effectively DRS themselves past the guy in front. So it's also, if you get too close, you run the risk of dirty air, diffuser stall if your setup's not quite there, and off into the wall and bodywork explosions.
Yeah. To avoid that, of course, at the front, everything's still as it was. Ivanov leading by about 1.5 seconds. He's increased that gap a little bit. Rovers starting to close into Woznica a bit more. Gap is just a little bit too big, I think, for Rovers to do anything with the slipstream. But he's starting to get there. He just needs a little bit more pace in the second sector, I guess, or the third sector, to get close to Woznica and make him move down the Camel Straight in the next few laps. You can see he's starting to close already a bit due to the slipstream.
We've seen Rovers do this before, haven't we? Where he's sort of been, in inverted commas, off the pace, and then to just sort of dominate the final stint because of a strategy call. So Rovers might pass Woznitzer on pace on track, and then whatever he does in the pit stop could get him into the top position by the final stint. So it's not over yet. Ivanov, Woznitzer trading first and second throughout the race. As we see, Leonov half a second behind Kalaksai. Kalaksai doing very well for Royal Blue at this point in time, 4th position. To see where he is in the way of things. His best result is 3rd, and that was at Azure. Didn't turn up for the race at Indianapolis. He was 9th after the server meltdown at Silverstone, 5th at Zandvoort, 7th at the Nürburgring, 8th in Portugal, 15th at San Marino. So he scored points at every race he's had this season, and with the exception of San Marino. Actually, no, San Marino, 15th, ignore me. So he scored points at every race he's turned up for this season, so he's having an okay season, but 4th position would be another brilliant result for him to add to the 3rd and the 5th at Azure and at Le Mans. So Royal Blue doing okay. Everybody else sort of there are a few people having very good races. Rietveld having a good race, Roger having a good race, Roslan up there in 15th, so he's doing brilliantly. Roslan, just trying to find him on my little sheet. I can't actually find him. Where is he?
Here we go, Leonov.
Okay.
Around the outside.
See ya.
Yeah, nothing much Kalaksai can do there. Of course, he's also on a bit of a different strategy. On the hard tire right now compared to everybody in front who's on their second set of softs. So they all have to go to the hard tires in the final stand, which will be coming in about 3-4 laps. So Kalaksai, I wouldn't count him out for top 3 or top 4 maybe even. I think it's going to be close between him and Leonov. All depends on how well he does in this final laps of this stint, and of course the next stint when Leonov is going to be driving on the harder compound tire in his turn.
Yeah, I'm expecting Oldenmenger to be in very soon as well, as he was one of the first to pit. We've always said that Harry Smith has been off cycle because of his front wing change, but yeah, Aldermenger probably be in soon as he chases down Cas Rietveld. 1.1, 1.2 between them, 1.5 maybe. Actually, it's 1.1. There we go. It's because of one is live updating the things and one is updating per lap. So yeah, ignore me. But he's chasing. Cas Rietveld might just let him go, but like I say, Aldermenger should be pitting before everybody else. Let's try to see where the close battles are, and it should be between Leonov and Galaxy, assuming that Leonov pulls away, or doesn't pull away.
I think it's actually between Rovers and Vosnica. I think Rovers is just too far back to do anything. He's also lifting off there. But he's definitely within striking range of Vosnica now. Can keep this gap this close. Might be able to get past him in the next 2 or 3 laps.
Coming through Speaker's Corner, no name. It's got about 400 different names, but through Pouon, Vosnitz went a little bit wide, but it was still under control, so they kept the momentum, kept the speed up, so that should be fine. Through Fania, left and right front taking a beating through here. You've just got to be careful on the exits, not get a cut track, and here as well. Take too much of the curb, you've got an off track, and that's not good. Vosnitz has 2 cut tracks. Hasn't picked up any since, so he's keeping it under control. As we said in qualifying and things like that, the white lines here pretty much mean white lines. If you go too far off, you'll get a cut. Too many cuts, you'll be driving through the pit lane at a very, very slow speed, as Roivers takes a lot of speed through the chicane. And he's got about 8 tenths to 7 tenths or 8 tenths to Vosnitz are ahead.
Yeah, lost a little bit through that
Maybe he might not get anything here. He's too far back, I think, for a pass into Lakon.
Yeah, definitely. Need about half a second, roughly 5 tenths, maybe a little bit over 5 tenths. You'll be able to make it stick at the end of the straight, but definitely not more than that. As there's about 14 laps to go in this race. That's including this one. So earliest anybody will pit is in 2 laps time, I would assume, since the tank holds about 12 laps of fuel. And most of these drivers will be going to the hard compound tire, except for, I believe, Torres, Galoksai, and there were a few drivers, I think it was Rietveld, who started on the hard tires. So he's also going to another set of the soft tire. It's going to be interesting to see where they will end up. However, Rietveld is 8.5 seconds behind Warbikov at the moment, so I don't know if he will be able to close that up in just one stint of soft tires. Cameron Roger is being overtaken by Simon Frelick now, though.
It's Roger down to 12th, so the tyres started to let go.
Yeah, he had a bit of breathing room, of course, after Vak and Frelick were battling.
That's too deep.
But yeah, now he's lost that breathing room and is falling into the clutches of these two once again. Vak trying to find a way around it, and Cameron indeed looking to be struggling quite a bit on these soft tires.
Yeah, I think he'll be going on to the hards for the next stint, which he'll be able to lean on a little bit better. And Thomas Vak following him through Fania here. Or Piff Paff, or it's another corner that's got a few hundred different names. Cameron seems to have that little bit of a gap to Thomas Vak here. But like we say, the slipstream effect down through Blanchimont to the chicane is a little bit different to the one you're about to see here between Roivers and Vosnitz. Roivers might just get this done.
Yeah, I think he's close enough to make a move if he wants to, but he doesn't want to.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking, why are you going for that gap? It's too small, but he's not even bothering.
Yeah,
I think he's just been pulled along at this point.
Yeah, perhaps. Maybe he also just doesn't want to lose time to Ivanov too much. Maybe he knows that he's got something on the strategy coming in the next stint. So let's wait and see for this pit stop cycle. I know Vosnica was the one that pitted 1 lap later compared to Rovers and Ivanov. So let's see how that compares in this second pit stop cycle.
Well, Aldermenger and Rothlan have just pitted, so that's Aldermenger down to 15th. Roslan down to the back of the field. So Harry Smith has actually managed to get back up one position at this point. So that's okay for him. Aldermenga has actually come out not far off the back of Matt Tewson. So that should be, no disrespect to Matt, that'll be an easy 14th position for Aldermenga. But the gap, or the battle that we're really interested in is this one between Roivers and Vosnitzer, as there's your leader Ivanov and Roivers into the pit lane.
Yeah, so Vosnica indeed going one lap longer once again compared to these two guys. Where will they rejoin? Pit entry looked good for Roivers. To his box, onto the hard tires. Same for Ivanov in front of him, of course. Leonov also stays out. Koloksai, Barbakov both in. And both of them rolling again. I think they'll have a rejoin right behind Rietveld once again.
Yeah,
it's going to be side by side on the exit. Yeah, Rietveld just about in front of Roivers. That's indeed not ideal for Noah. I think
he'll slipstream past him here.
Yeah, he won't be losing too much because he's going to get the slipstream here. Rietveld knows he's not in this fight, so probably not going to battle it too hard. His competitors are mainly Lalu, Kaloksai, of course. And Roivers gets past cleanly. Lost a bit of time perhaps to Ivanov, not too much I think. He's just going to have to push these tires now to try and get the overcut on Vosnica. I think that's, the undercut. That's what he would ideally get. But Vosnica, is he doing a good lap? Sector times look decent. Doesn't look like a really amazing lap. So I think it's going to be very close between these two guys.
Yeah, it'll be a great fight to see them, all three of them from the same team, fighting at the end. Nice and entertaining for a Sunday afternoon. So Vosnitzer into the pit lane, gets the speed limiter on, and will pull into his box here. So he'll put the hards on, go to the end. So has his in-lap been enough to keep the lead? We'll find out in a second. Leonov into the pit lane as well. So I think Roivers and Leonov might actually have... Ivanov might have this,
Yeah,
and
I think
they
Ivanov
do.
Definitely does. Vosnica and Roivers is going to be close. Vosnica just on pit exit there. And Roivers indeed even losing, I think, about half a second compared to Vosnica through this phase. Maybe even more, yeah, about a full second to Vosnica. So it's not gone well for Noah Roivers. He's, of course, still got about 11 laps left to try and close that gap. But Roivers definitely a bit further back than he would have liked in this pit stop cycle, I reckon.
Well, Aldermenga through the pit stop cycle's got up to 7th, so that's not bad for a pit lane start. He shouldn't have to stop again. So, yeah, that should be fine for him. He's ahead of Rietveld.
Very busy pit exit there.
Yeah.
Cameron Roger, Simon Frelick, all very close to each other. Slipstream is going to play a big role in this train once again. Frelick, he's going to be the first one to get Slipstream from Harry Smith in front of him. Gonna go to the inside here. Smith can't do much. Cameron Roger behind that. I think also trying to have a bit of a look, but doesn't go for a move just yet. But he's waiting patiently behind Harry Smith here. Smith makes a mistake. That's the opportunity Cameron was waiting for. Indeed, dives up the inside here. Make sure you don't understeer wide. Thomas Wack behind it also trying to take advantage of the mistake from Harry Smith. That isn't able to do so just yet, but this train at the later stages of this race, very close to each other still.
That was a brave move from Cameron Roger at the inside of Rivage, and takes 12th place from Harry Smith there. Simon Frelick will hopefully be next up for Cam. He's on the hard tyres, Frelick on the soft, so Cameron might have a little bit of an upper hand at the end of the stint. But these guys should all be good now for the end of the race. Looking at Roivers ahead, he's 2.4 behind Vosnitzer, so he's dropped right off the back there. So I don't think Roivers will be able to pull off a win unless he finds something. Yeah,
Sorry, Harry Smith up the inside of Cameron Roger. Cameron doesn't take
that's
any
a good
of it.
switch back.
Yeah, definitely side by side coming up to La Source. Behind them, they're also side by side with Vak and Satsipantelis, who's going to be the first one to get out of La Source. I guess you want to be the second one that comes out of La Source here because of the slipstream. Cameron Roger and Satsipantelis both have that. Now, surely the slipstream is going to be enough for Cameron to get past once again down the Camel Straight. Let's see which side do they choose. Very quickly behind with Satsipantelis as well.
Just gave him enough room.
Side by side on the outside, Roger. This is going to be interesting coming into Lacombe. Bit of wheel banging there, but Harry Smith able to take the position, and Satsipantelis has to stick behind for now. Arif Roslan is also starting to get closer now. Cameron Roger had a bit of a peak there down Rivage. Ooh, goes very wide.
That'll be an off
Brunon
track.
in there. That will be indeed will be a cut track there. And already losing a bit of ground now compared to Harry Smith. Vosnica is close to Viktor Ivanov, by the way. Very close to Viktor Ivanov. Ivanov must have made a mistake. He was about 1.5 seconds in front. Now it's only 3/10. And surely it's going to be enough for Vosnica to take that slipstream. He manages, or he decides to not take it before Eau Rouge, but now gets the slipstream, gets the momentum, and chooses to go up the inside. Ivanov doesn't even bother defending. He knows that the overspeed is too much. And Jan Vosnica goes up into the lead of this race with 9 laps to go. For now, Ivanov, I think he's going to slot behind and try and stay close to him, but he's going to have to work hard for this win if he wants it.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. He pulled out of the slipstream to avoid getting too close into Eau Rouge, and then pulled back in at the last minute just to get that little bit of a slingshot, and then got hooked right into the slipstream and then used it to overtake down the Camel Straight towards Lake Com. So Vosnitz retakes the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix here today. He's got almost a second to Ivanov already, but they're both dropping Roivers behind. So Roivers a little bit off the pace here today. Chatspantalis fighting with Tomasz Vak and trying to go around the outside of Lake Com. That's swept in and taken. And now he's going to chase down Cameron Roger for 12th position. So basically at this point, finish and you're in the points. But don't count out anybody retiring with just over 7 laps remaining.
Yeah, Harry Smith did another pit stop, of course, was off sync already because of that incident that he had in the first lap, or the second lap. So yeah, unfortunate day for him here in the Pro Series as well as he had in the Academy Series as well. But of course, still some time to go in the season. We've seen him do some nice moves. Then definitely looked promising in the racecraft there. Now though, I think Arif Roslan, he's trying to stay close to Thomas Vak and perhaps make a move down the Camel Straight.
Yeah, just half a second off at this point. Something can happen on the next lap. Just got to get a decent exit. I mean, it's a little bit of oversteer on the exit, but still close enough. Just 3/10 in it. Hard on the brakes for La Source. Lock the rears. Got a bit of a drift on. Under control. Might have just got enough here. Yeah, he's in like that 3/10 gap. Should be able to keep his foot planted through Eau Rouge and Radion. And this should be easy as you like down Camel Straight. Should swoop past even before the King here. Just pretty much. But now he's pulled out early. He's alongside and not getting that toe anymore, so it's going to be on the brakes and swinging it around the outside. So hopefully they don't come into contact here, but he's taken the position. That is a brilliant overtake there for Arif Roslan, but still Tomasz Vak coming back. And that is Arif Roslan up there into 14th place as they follow very, very closely down the hill towards No Name and Pouon. But Arif Roslan has managed to make that stick.
Yeah, great move indeed by Arif Roslan there. Victor's driver showing his worth here around Spa-Francorchamps. At the front, the gap between Ivanov and Vosnica has risen to about 8/10. So Vosnica really starting to pick up the pace. Ivanov not able to stay close to him just for now. I think there's been an incident with George Shatsipantelis. We'll spawn around in the second sector. Let's see if we can find out what happened.
Here's the replay that we were talking about. Shatsipantelis going through Fanya here. Oh, he dropped it on the power. But managed to get it flicked around and away from oncoming traffic. So his tyres are going to be a bit second hand, but at least he's still in the race.
Yeah, indeed. And he's close to Matthew Tucson now as well. I think coming into La Source will be going for an overtake if he gets a good exit here, out of here. Here we go. Dino Rouge up Radion. Slipstream doing wonders once again. Is it enough though? I think just about. Has to send it up the inside here though. Tucson doesn't really defend it. Goes deep though. That's going to allow Shatsipantelis around the outside. Next corner is going to be the inside for Shatsipantelis. And that's move done for Shatsipantelis with a little bit of a mistake there from Tucson. That opened the gap for him.
Yeah, there was a secondary lockup there going into the hairpin that might not have helped Tucson's case. But Shatsipantelis has got back up to 15th place, so that will be a point for him. Assuming the race stays as is with 5 laps remaining. Kalaksai following Leonov now into La Source. And that should be nicely within the slipstream range for going up the Camel Straight. Because like we saw before, if you get the slipstream too early, you've not got the overrun to get past into Lake On. I'm going to see it now. There we go. He's ahead, but now looks like Leonov's going to try and use the slipstream again to send it into Lake On, but no, he's not close enough to try and move. So I expect these positions to keep swapping.
Yeah, I don't know, because Leonov is of course on the hard tires, Kaloksai is on the softs. We saw this basically exactly mirrored about 10 laps ago. Then Leonov was able to pass Kaloksai on the hard tires.
I think it depends if those softs give up.
Yeah, definitely.
Before,
there's still 6 laps to go.
Yeah.
We're going to have to wait and see what Kaloksai is able to do with them. He's going to try and at least make the gap for now. And then at the end of the race, if he manages to keep the tires alive, you might be able to keep that 4th place. Would be a great result for him as well. The gap between Ivanov and Wozniacka has closed down a little bit more once again now coming through the bus stop. This battle between the two leaders just keeps on giving. And this time around, if Ivanov gets a good exit, goes a bit deep, that's not going to help his case. I think he's just a bit too far back to have the slipstream. But definitely getting closer again to Wozniacka. Perhaps Wozniacka using a bit more of his tires through this stint. And now starting to pay the price.
Yeah, just a bit too far back for Lycom here. But still, these two are going to keep fighting towards the end. So they're pulling away from Roivers, and that's something that we've not really seen all season, to be honest, with how consistent he's been this season. I mean, Roivers, aside from Silverstone, has finished 1st or 2nd all season, so this will be a little bit of a break in the consistency from him, but still a podium and another good points haul. He's beaten Oldenmenger, so that gap will go up. Vosnitzer, if it stays as is, will overtake Oldenmenger, so the way this is going to shake up some of the championship is going to be pretty interesting to watch. I mean, Leonov, he's in 5th, so yeah, he'll have pulled on Zoltschuk's in 5th, but Zoltschuk hasn't shown up for Indianapolis, Azure, Le Mans or Spa, so we can eliminate him. Kalaksai will take 5th at the end of this race, as we now see the 2 Netrex cars with about 4 tenths between them as they cross the line. There's Roivers in the background into La Source. It's a better La Source for Ivanov this time, or maybe not, as he gets a kick of oversteer.
He's right on the edge of enough slipstream or not. And I have to wait and see down the Camel Straight if it's going to be enough. I think it's just not enough, but he's closing in rapidly now. Maybe if he sends it around the inside or around the outside. No, just too far. Just a little bit too far. He needs about half a tenth more to be able to make that move down the straight. This is the sector where Bosnica seems to be a bit stronger, but in the third sector and on the braking, Viktor Ivanov seems to be a bit stronger. There is 4 laps to go, that's including this one. Bosnica trying to make use of every single track limit that he has left. I think that might have been a track cut there. He's gonna have to be careful on these next few laps to not pick up too many, because then the game will give you a penalty.
I've just opened up the lap times in rFactor 2 just to see if that was a cut. Whoa, that's a big slide coming out of Stavilo from Vosnitsa. That's going to bake the rear tyres, but then you saw Ivanov go a bit too wide coming out of Paul Ferrer. That might give him a track cut. So both of them really pushing at this point. Vosnitsa wants to keep the lead. Ivanov wants the lead. Vosnitsa's got just under a second. There's another slide from Vosnitsa. 7 tenths going across the line.
Yeah, a bit further than it was last lap, so slightly more breathing room for Vosnica now. The Source is one of those corners where Ivanov seems to be a bit struggling on the rear tires. Rouge, up Radion. Once again, Ivanov is closing in, but he's too far back to, I think, make the move here. Just a few laps to go now.
Yeah, that 33 of 35. So your top 10, Vosnitsa, Ivanov, Roivers, Kalaksai, Leonov, Barbakov, Oldermanger, Rietveld, Torres, Lalu. As we now look at Oldermanger, who has carved his way up to 7th using strategy, now up to 6th, assuming this move gets pulled off. As they come up to Lacom here, that is move done for Oldermanger. So he might just keep second in the driver's standings at this rate, as Kas Rietveld now wants a piece of this to get past Stoyan Barbakov. Looking at the Kas Rietveld currently 7th in the driver's standings. 7th at San Marino, 5th in Portugal, 6th at the Nürburgring, 13th, 12th, 6th. So he's scored points in every race this season, apart from Azure and Le Mans, where he didn't finish. So Rietveld and Oldermanger. So Rietveld having a great race, Oldermanger not having the best of races. But a lot of drivers picking up points. So this race has been a good day out for the majority of the grid.
Bit of a wiggle there for Jan Bosnica coming out of La Source. Is it going to be enough for Ivanov to close in? I think it's once again just a little bit too far. Just about half a tenth, 1/10 is what he needs before he gets out of La Source to really make that move. Bosnica decides to go a bit more defensive this time, but as you see, just a little bit too far back for Viktor Ivanov. Doesn't have much attempts left. Next lap is going to be the last lap. So if he wants to try it, he needs to make sure that he gets close coming down the third sector on this lap. Coming out of La Source, he needs to be within about 4 tenths. And then he's able to make that move. But I'm sure Vosnica will fight tooth and nail for that. Of course, they are teammates, but I'm pretty sure that they both still want to win this race as much as anyone.
Yeah, they've both done a great job today, so they both in inverted commas deserve it. But you know, eSports doesn't care whether you deserve it or not. The winner is whoever crosses the finish line first. So Vosnitsa and Ivanov have put on a decent show for us this afternoon. Roivers back there in third, so sort of cruising to solidify that third. he'll increase his championship lead whatever happens. Oldermanger down there in 6th, so Vosnitzer will want the win to catch up to him. Maybe, I think he might overtake him. I can't really do the maths on the fly. David Kalakshai there in 4th as well, so that's going to be a good day out for him. And, you know, considering what his best result of the season is currently, his best result of the season is 3rd, so he'll have done 3rd at Azure, 5th at Le Mans, 4th at Spa, but Leonov is within a second of him, so you know he's still got to hang on as they are on the final lap. And Vosnitzer is just that little bit too far ahead of Ivanov for Ivanov to send it into Les Comps. Then through the right-hander at the top, and then down the hill again to Rivage. You think Vosnitzer might have this provided he doesn't make any mistakes, but he's got a little bit wide but managed to cut back in and get the power down, so that sort of cancels everything out. Through No Name for the final time. Both cars running wide, might as well use up your track extensions, because if you've got any in hand you might as well use them through Pouhon. Ivanov 0.6 of a second here, Vosnitzer just holding on through Fania. Ivanov taking a bit of a later apex, a bit of a wobble, that's not going to help. Gap's gone up to nearly 0.8 now as they go into Stavolo, and Ivanov has dropped a tiny bit more. He's catching ever so slightly, so he's got the slightly better exit, but Vosnitzer has got that 0.8 cushion. Slipstream's not going to do anything up here towards Blanchimont and the chicane as they go through that for the final time. So assuming that Vosnitzer gets a decent braking and traction out of the chicane, which he's got the braking done right, through the left. So Jan Vosnitzer is going to take the win here in Belgium. Both of them getting a drift on the exit. Vosnitzer takes the win, Ivanov 2nd. Roivers, assuming, yeah, there he is, he's going to take 3rd. So it's a Netrex 1, 2, 3. So they're going to be very, very happy with that. Kalakshai should hold on for 4th. There he goes across the line, 7 seconds behind Vosnitzer and co. Ivanov will take 5th. Oldermanger recovered from a pit lane start to take 6th, so great damage limitation for him. Rietveld about 2 seconds behind him, so that's going to be 7th, well 6th and 7th for Burst. And then Royal Blue, Sorin Barbakov will be 8th. Alvaro Torres 9th. Jukabek Alalu there will round out the top 10. And then 11th downwards, Simon Freilich, Cameron Roger, Arif Roslan. As we look at Cameron Roger now taking a 12th place finish. So that's a nice safe 12th for him. Gives a bit of a weave to celebrate. Arif Roslan there in the background going to take 13th. Then Thomas Schwack in 14th. Chats Mentalis in 15th. And then Matt Towson, Harry Smith rounding out your field. So 35 laps complete. The Belgian Grand Prix over. Everybody's coming back in very, very slowly towards the pit lane. But there's your winner, Jan Vosnitzer, who will be very, very happy with that win to take a massive chunk out of the gap between him and Tom Oldermanger in the driver's standings. So, awesome race.
Definitely great race by these guys. Of course, Netrex dominant at the front end. Tom Oldermanger, great recovery drive from the pit lane up to 6th in front of his teammate Cas Rietveld as well. So he can be happy with himself, of course, in some way, but also remains to be seen what could have been if he managed to get onto the grid in time. But yeah, great drive by Jan Vosnica. Ivanov tried his best, but just wasn't enough to get that win today.
Bit of formation flying between Vosnitzer and Roivers as they slowly bring things round, and we can probably bring up the confirmation of the race results for you in a second. There it is. So there you go. Jan Vosnitzer wins, 35 laps completed from Viktor Ivanov. It was a great race towards the end. Ivanov just maybe about half a tenth or a tenth too far away. Noah Roivers rounding out the Netrex 1, 2, 3. David Kalakshai will be very happy with 4th for Royal Blue. Ivan Leonov in 5th. Tom Oldermanger recovering to 6th from a pit lane start. Cas Rietveld in 7th. Stoyan Babakov 8th. Alvaro Torres of Brem GP in 9th. And Jukabek Alalu rounding out the top 10. Moving down the field, Simon Freilich in 11th for Royal Blue. Cameron Roger in 12th for Burst Esports. Arif Roslan for Invictus in 13th. He'll be happy with that. Thomas Schwack for HM Engineering in 14th. George Chatzpendales will be ruining what might have been. He had a spin and had to recover from that in 15th. And then Matt Towson and Harry Smith will be happy to finish after his sort of accident on lap 2, lap 3, whenever it was, and in 17th. And there is your championship standings. Jan Vosnitzer has indeed taken second place from Tom Oldermenger, 138, plays 135 in that respect. Noah Roivers extending his lead to 183 points over 138 there. Ivan Leonov has taken fourth, and David Kaloksai David Kaloksai has overtaken Zolt Shuks, who hasn't turned up for the past 3 or 4 races. Victor Ivanov down there in 7th for Netrex. Rietveld, Lalu, Torres, that's your top 10 in the point standings. Noah Roivers looking very, very much the odds-on favourite for the title this season. Jan Vosnitzer still, however, has a realistic chance of being there in the title fight. It only takes a couple of bad races from Roivers and a couple of wins from Vosnitzer to turn the title on its head, but still, this is the point where we would say, well, we've got the World Championship coming up, but because of the Euro 2020-2021 final between England and Italy, that has been delayed by a week, so you'll be seeing that next Sunday. But next up for us is the Japanese Grand Prix from Matsusaka on the 25th of July 2021. So that's pretty much it from us. I've been Aidan Millward, and with me has been Felix van Delft, replacing Alex Skinner today. So until next time, or until the 25th of July, or until next week, depending on whichever series you want to watch, well, good night, and hopefully it's coming home. Had to.